Well, good evening, girls. I thought my next installment would be, since it's bedtime stories, we'll actually read from in the bed. So after this, we can go bedtime. I'm just joking, joshing, if you will. This next book is a good one. This book is called Don't Rock the Ark. And, what's special about this book is the person that wrote it even autographed it. Look. It says, best wishes, Emily Rogers. They even signed it. Official, Don't Rock the Ark. What do you think it's about? You ever heard of the Ark? Okay. It says, all was happy and peaceful in the animal world as the creatures went around their daily lives. Miss Elephant enjoyed the cool of a shower as Mr. Rhinoceros relished a mud bath, and the lions rested in the shade. The tallness of the giraffes allowed them to see a distance. Miss Giraffe noticed a movement on the horizon. A group of people were trudging toward them. Strangers approaching, she called to Mr. Baboon, dozing on a branch. Wow, strangers nearby. This has to be a broadcast, announced Mr. Baboon. He rushed to tell Mr. Elephant, for none was better spreading news than he raised his trunk and trumpeted far and wide. Mr. Elephant agreed it was important news. He wasted no time raising his trunk and trumpeting, strangers in our midst. Such a commotion erupted as animals stopped their daily routines and rushed to hide. A man called Noah led the strangers. He was accompanied by his wife, their sons, and their wives. As they continued on, there was not an animal to be seen. We have frightened the animals, and they are hiding, said Noah. He called to the animals. The gentleness of his voice reassured Mr. Elephant, and he stepped from hiding. Terrible rains will come and cause a giant flood. Remember that from the Bible? Exclaimed Noah. Follow us, and we will save you. Mr. Elephant threw up his trunk and trumpeted far and wide. Don't be afraid. The strangers have come to save us. Noah sent his family to the forests, fields, valleys, and mountains to collect two of every living creature. The animals came from hiding to meet them. Then Noah led the animals on a long trek to safety. Look at all these animals. Can you see them all? After many days, the animals were tired and wearied, but Noah gently urged them forward. They had to hurry, for dark clouds were gathering. To Noah's relief, a huge ark came in sight. He and his sons had built the ark, and their wives had stored food inside for everyone. 2 by 2, the animals hurried to enter the shelter of the ark. Rain began to fall. Thunder boomed like great drums, bum, 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 and bolts of lightning forked across the dark sky. Noah closed the door of the ark. His family and two of every living creature were safe and dry inside. Rain poured down harder and harder. Streams became rivers. Rivers swelled until the waters rushed over their banks and spread across the land, covering fields and forests. Suddenly the ark was lifted by the rising water. It floated along gently as the water continued to rise, covering the hills and the mountains. Soon the water covered all the land, and the ark floated on a great sea. Ooh, man. It was very crowded and very noisy inside the ark. I don't have enough room. Move over, Miss Crocodile snapped at Mr. Bear. Mr. Bear jumped back and bumped into Mr. Rhinoceros, who jabbed Mr. Elephant with his horn. Mr. Elephant stumbled backwards and bumped Miss Elephant, who staggered clumsily across the ark. The ark began to roll wildly from side to side, and the air was filled with all kinds of screeching, howling, and roaring. Shh, shh, quiet everyone, please be still, Noah said. Don't rock the ark, he pleaded. Noah's gentle voice calmed the animals, and they soon settled back into their places. The animals had to find a way to keep from rocking the ark. They all agreed the elephants shouldn't move. No sooner had they decided this than Miss Elephant let out a frightening shriek, "Rear!" and reared back. Her eyes rolled. The ark began to tilt to one side. "Please don't rock, Miss Elephant," shouted Mr. Bear. "Don't rock the ark." The mouse ran over my toe," cried Miss Elephant, her big ears quivering with fright. "Miss Mouse, you must stay away from Miss Elephant," scowled Mr. Bear. "Elephants are afraid of little mice like you." "I'll try my best, Miss Mouse, but it's awfully crowded in here." You see the mouse? Just as the ark stopped rocking, a tiny flea came across a very thick and very wobbly wrinkled leg. The wrinkles made climbing quite easily. "Oh, I have such an itch! I must scratch!" roared Miss Elephant. Miss Porcupine rushed to help. "Mr. Flea, you must get off his leg at once," she ordered. "You silly thing, we can't have Miss Elephant scratching his leg. He'll rock the ark." Miss Porcupine offered to scratch Mr. Elephant's leg with her pointy quills. Then all was quiet again in the ark. Mr. Peacock was sitting on a rafter where everyone could see and admire him. Remember all those from the zoo? Peacocks were all over the zoo. He fussed with and fluffed his beautiful feathers. He was a most handsome bird. "Aha!" Miss Elephant, her mouth opening wide, but she was not admiring Mr. Peacock. One of his bright green feathers had fallen on the end of Miss Elephant's long trunk, and it was tickling her terribly. "Oh no, she's going to sneeze!" shouted a horrified Mr. Baboon. "Will surely capsize if she does." He leaped toward the rescue. With a puff of breath, Mr. Baboon blew the feather away. Then he held the end of Miss Elephant's trunk to stifle her sneeze. Achoo! It was a tiny sneeze for an elephant, but it was strong enough to blow Mr. Baboon onto his back. The elephants settled down, hoping their troubles with the elephants were at an end. But all was not well. "There isn't room to stretch my neck, Mr. Giraffe. I'm so tired of holding my head in the same position. My neck is quite stiff," complained Mrs. Giraffe. "My neck's stiff too. After walking around the ship all day, I have to walk around like this, so I don't hit my head." "You poor thing, you're welcome to rest your neck on my back," offered Miss Elephant. "That is very kind of you," said Miss Giraffe, settling on a comfortable spot on his broad back. It didn't take long for the giraffe to fall asleep. Oh, we're on the elephant's back. When the giraffes wakened from their nap, Mr. Elephant gave a long, sad sigh. "Is Mr. Flea bothering you again?" asked Miss Porcupine. "No," replied Mr. Elephant. "It was an effort supporting the giraffe's neck, all the while standing in the same spot. I am so tired. I'll fall over if I don't lay down soon." "Oh no, you mustn't move," pleaded the elements. "You'll rock the ark if you do." "Noah, Noah, come quickly," Mr. Baboon called. "There's a disaster at hand." When Noah heard about the problem, he thought hard for a moment. Then he chuckled and clapped his hands together as he came up with a wonderful idea. Noah took the thickest rope he had and wove them into 2 huge hammocks. Then he hung them from the strongest of the wooden beams. The elephants were delighted. They were so comfortable in the hammocks they dozed off immediately. The other animals sighed with relief because the elephants could no longer rock the ark. At last, all was peaceful. One day, the animals felt a soft bump. Bump, bump. Noah opened a window and saw that the ark had come to rest on top of a mountain. The flood was drying up as the water level dropped and land reappeared all around the ark. Noah opened the door, chattering and chirping happily, 2 by 2. The elephants, giraffes, kangaroos, hippopotamuses, bears, rabbits, and all the animals hurried from the ark. Noah watched as they set off for the forests, fields, valleys, and mountains to carry on their lives. There they go! Wonder where they're all going. Ah, elephants and baboons. Well, that's it. Hope you have some sweetest of dreams.